there'd be a lot of poop in my pants. I've seen a 6-foot alligator go swinging through the air and slam into a tree.
These guys are the scientists of the supernatural, lecturers leaving lessons for inquiring laymen. They are applying the scientific method to a world that baffles science. They are the cryptids of the corn.
But who else has big black wings and red eyes?
Batman.
Oh, Mothman.
Oh yeah, Mothman.
A great white shark was stolen.
Oh, someone stole a shark?
I got stuff for you don't even know about.
She's a witch. She turned me into a newt.
Who knows? Anything could be possible.
It's really big abduction vibes.
Holy moly.
It sounds like you were abducted.
And it just stood up. I mean, it just like kept going and going. And she goes, what the?
Welcome back, fair listener, and join us on this tale of medieval magicery. I am the great and powerful Mr. E.
And I am Renaissance Clone J, number, I don't know, 17?
Huzzah!
Yeah, huzzah! Huzzah!
Grab your sword as we gather on this quest for manhood.
When you said huzzah, I have a funny story, real quick tangent. When we were in South Carolina maybe, or Florida, I don't remember, for a family vacation. You know those shows, it's like Knights of the Round Table, or whatever they're called, where the knights put on the show and you eat the dinner, you know, around, and everyone has their colored sections of the night they're rooting for. Well, the big wizard was running around and he's pointing to each section, and each time you point to a section, you stand up and you throw your arms up and you yell huzzah, and he's going around, boom, this section. We were in the next section, and he's circling on real fast, and instead of pointing us, he just was done and he just kept running by. But my brother was already ready for it, so he just jumps up and yells huzzah, but he was the only one in our section that did it.
Thank you for interrupting the flow for that.
I'm sorry, but hey, we're back in the Renaissance funness. What?
Dragons are real.
Dragons? Speaking of dragons, I don't know.
We're going to talk about dragons today.
Oh, yes, that's right. Indeed, we are, aren't we?
Dragons. So every culture has a story of a similar creature relating to dragons. And they're very similar descriptions. You know, there's kind of the Eastern and Western versions.
Right. The Eastern ones are like the slender, long, like...
But historic European dragons were also serpent-like in the back.
Ah, okay.
So the modern, like the 4-legged dragon you see in like movies
Game of
and stuff like
Thrones.
that is relatively recently, within the last 400 years.
Yeah.
Like with European culture.
With the big arms and legs and the big wings and the fire breathing and the...
Almost all European dragons before that period were very serpentine with wings.
Okay.
So very much like flying snakes.
Like flying worms. Like the worms, WYRM. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about some dragons.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about some what dragons could be or what's happening with dragons.
Wait. Before we get into it, is Dragon Tales real?
Yes.
Is that soft disclosure?
Yes.
Good show.
We're going to talk about the Lone Pine Mountain Devils first.
Wow. Okay, that sounds scary.
Yeah, well, they're awful little creatures. The Lone Pine Mountain Devil is a cryptid that has captured the imagery and imaginations of many people. This mysterious creature is said to roam the forests of California and subject to numerous accounts throughout history. Described as a fairly large, furry, or feathered, like down, multi-winged creature with razor-sharp talons and multiple layers of deadly venomous fangs. And the scientific community considers the Lone Pine Mountain Devil to be a combination of folklore and misidentification rather than a real creature.
Of course.
I mean, yeah, when we start talking about these things that look like, I mean, do you blame the scientific community?
Well, I guess. I don't know. Yes.
Throughout the
years, I do.
Stories and eyewitness accounts have circulated, adding that the growing legend of the Lone Pine Mountain Devil. In some cases, these creatures have been linked to the Jersey Devil. The reports from the early settlers and priests traveling, they are described as a winged demon from the depths of hell. The town of Lone Pine, situated about 100 miles east of Fresno, has become synonymous with these chilling tales, drawing curiosity minds and leaning towards about this exclusive being.
Oh.
The Lone Pine Mountain Devil legend continues to grow. People are left to wonder if there's any truth to these stories or if it's just a fragment of our collective imagination.
Ooh, just a fragment.
Although there's no concrete evidence has been found of support such a creature, the Lone Pine Mountain Devil remains a fascinating urban legend and continues to invoke both fear and intrigue in the hearts of those who come across the tale.
So, okay. Are you about to get back into the description exactly what this thing looks like?
Yeah, I will here in a second.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about some of the early settlers first.
Like,
So the Lone
people
Pine
that
Mountain
first-
Devil origins.
You gotcha.
So I'll talk about the North Americans and I'll talk about the Spanish settlers and early sightings.
What's those two explorers that famous like for traveling across America that like reached the Pacific Ocean first? So, first in our history.
Oh my gosh.
Why am I blanking on their name? You know who I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm sure. Do they have accounts from it or something?
They started in Ohio.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was their first.
Ohio was unexplored.
What the heck is their name? Lewis and Clark.
Lewis
There we
and
go.
Clark. Sacagawea was the real one.
Was the what?
The real one.
Oh, okay. Yes. I don't know.
She's the only reason they didn't get murdered by all the Indians across the United States.
Yeah. If they even did it, I mean, who knows?
I think they did it, and I think it was Sacagawea.
that helped them.
She's the one that literally kept them from being scalped.
Yeah, probably.
As they were like, hello, Native people, we're here mapping this for our settlement.
Yeah. And then the Comanches come across, and they're like, yeah, no more Ed.
So the Spanish settlers and early sightings. The history of Lone Pine Mountain Devil has its roots in the early encounters with the Spanish settlers traveling through California. These early explorers documented their encounters with these unusual creatures in their journals, reporting described as winged demons. The settlers believed that these creatures were sent from the depths of hell as a punishment for their sins, as they're killing all the Native Americans.
Yeah, I would feel pretty guilty too.
While these accounts add the mystery and fear of the legend, it's certainly not to jump to conclusions about the Mountain Devil's existence. All right, let's talk about some Native American stuff.
Okay.
There's not a whole lot on this cryptid. I have a whole bunch of little cryptids.
I'm curious too with your stack of Native American books over here. If one of them out west has this in there, but there's not too much.
They're very generalized.
Yeah, there's not too much deep dive cryptid stuff in there.
It's more just history of them being moved.
Yeah, it's true.
Here,
Sadly enough,
yeah. The Lone Pine North American folklore. Lone Pine Mountain Devil found its place in North American folklore, captivating the minds of ghost hunters, cryptid enthusiasts, and storytellers alike. Many locals tell reveilles about these creatures, paintings in these fearsome beasts, and multiple layers of deadly venomous fangs. It is, like I said earlier, it's a large, fluffy body, multi-wings, so its front legs and its back legs have wings on them.
Mm-hmm.
Razor-sharp talons that it uses to grab and hook prey. Despite the stories adding to the creature's mystique, the scientific community, like I said, remains skeptic. So the Native Americans, from what it looks like, the outside looking in, adapted this later rather than earlier.
Oh, okay.
That may point some negativity towards the Lone Pine Mountain Devil.
Being real.
Yeah.
I got a couple questions though.
Okay.
Did it fly?
Will I get there?
Okay, and then second one, if it's native to California, the old maps and stuff showed like the old maps where you see California is already it's like its own island.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it.
That was wishful thinking.
I mean,
I want California to be its own island.
It may what goes around comes around, so it may be one again. But it is weird those old maps have this big stretch of land in the Pacific right off the coast, and we called it California. It's kind of odd. Either California was, an island and now it got pushed up against the coast, or that sunk. It's gone. It got buried or destroyed. I don't know.
I think it's definitely more the other, just because of the mountain range and species.
Right. Yeah. True.
That it does not seem like it was. All the species in California are native to the other states as well. It would seem like there'd be some localized species.
Wait. So which one are you saying is more likely?
That there was a different thing that sunk in the ocean.
Is gone. That's what I was always thinking too.
Not California
as we know
shoved
it
itself into the coast.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But like you said, it might be wishful thinking. It might be predicting the future of current California.
The mountain ranges are my big point. Like the Trinity's Alps that's in Northern California, they connect all the way across.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But who knows?
Right.
Anything could be possible.
Who knows? Anything could be possible. You're gonna wear that button out.
It's the only one I press. All right. So, description and characteristics.
Okay, here we go.
Mysterious creature is said to roam the forests of California. It appears as quite unusual, as it's described as some kind of a combination of a dinosaur and a winged monster. The creature's face is often described as resembling that of a T-Rex or other theropod dinosaur. Big toothy maw, kind of squarish head.
Yeah.
Adding to its fearful and intimidating aura. Covering the Lone Pine Mountain Devil body is a layer of fur or down.
I'm leaning more towards the down.
Yeah. Which anybody that doesn't know what down is, it's like a broken apart feather. It's very fluffy.
Yeah, it's just
You ever seen a
soft.
silky chicken? They're covered in downs. It looks like fur. It feels like fur.
It's just soft feathers.
Which makes them look quite unique against the various other cryptids from around the world. What truly sets these creatures apart than from other mythical beasts is the multiple sets of wings. These wings are believed to be strong enough to propel the creature swiftly through the skies in search of prey. It is not an ordinary bird-like cryptid, however, though, as its wings are commonly referred to as multi-winged, raising more questions. Think almost like dragonfly.
Okay.
It's very odd for a vertebrate-like cryptid to have two sets of wings and still running around on the ground.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense. But maybe, I don't know.
See if you can ruin this one for me.
Say, don't push the button again.
One of the most critical attributes of the Lone Pine Mountain Devil is its deadly arsenal of weapons. So now we're getting to more Lumberland kind of lore. You know how they like to spin cryptids.
Like the Snally Goster or Snally Goster. Yeah.
The razor-like talons and venomous fangs. It relies on these two features to catch and subdue its prey, making it a formidable adversary to those unfortunate enough to encounter it. While its presence is considered by the scientific community to be a mix of folklore and misidentification, tales of the Lone Pine Mountain Devil have captivated the imagination of people for decades. So if you ever find yourself wandering the forests of California, keep an eye out for a particularly fur-covered, dinosaur-faced, multi-winged, venomous fanged monster. You never know when or where it might make an appearance.
Right, yeah. Now, any birds with fangs? Is that a thing? Because some birds have teeth.
Very ancient birds.
Okay. Now, also...
Like non-avian.
Okay.
Or something else.
Here's another question, too.
Yes, sir.
Do you think it's actually venomous, or do you think like the bite has like bacteria and stuff and it's infectious, like it's dirty?
Either or.
Like it's a dirty bite. Yeah.
Either or.
That's okay.
I don't think as far as the little bit of information I have on this thing, I couldn't tell you one way or the other.
Okay. But do either exist in nature now?
Yeah, oh, sure.
Okay.
All kinds of stuff.
Okay, cool. So we're not out of the realm of...
And we're talking about, obviously it's hinting at that it may be some kind of saurian, some dinosaur.
Yeah.
We think there were some venomous dinosaurs. We haven't proven that or haven't found very good fossil evidence of it.
It's going to be pretty dang hard to prove it.
What we look for is grooves in the teeth, like Komodo dragons and ancient monitor lizards that we know now are venomous.
Right, yeah, exactly. But even, imagine though, even back then, maybe it was just anatomically developed different than it is now.
Very possible.
Tell. Yeah, there's stuff we probably found that was venomous that...
Like a lot of the little theropods, like Troodon and stuff like that, they're pretty sure was venomous in some way, shape, or form. Because the things they were hunting were much larger. So it was more like Komodo dragon style. You get in there, get a couple good bites.
Yeah.
And you just kind of follow it around until it drops.
Yeah. You know what's really venomous right now? My fists. Because when they strike...
Oh, snap.
You're going down. Not right away, probably, but, probably 2 days later, you'll feel it.
So
dumb. I'm dumb.
If you see descriptions and sightings of this cryptid, like a lot of the drawings of it, modern day stuff, make it look just like a little theropod dinosaur.
Okay.
That's not really what it looked like.
Okay.
It was more like kind of like a winged snake. Very reptilian. Its head is specifically very reptilian. These two sets of wings, and it may have had legs. It may have just been that second set of wings.
Okay.
It's very odd because it hasn't been seen in a long time.
Well, they said it was like ground dwelling, right?
But it would fly in search of prey and then ride its prey and then hunt on the ground.
So it had to have some sort of like feet, right?
Snakes don't have feet.
Well, true.
Legless lizards. You don't need legs to be on the ground.
Okay, I guess you're right.
Yeah. I'm gonna save that as a clip.
I was gonna say if someone submits that, you're kicked off the show.
Oh, speaking of which, you still have time to submit your clips for our new intro for season 5. You have like a couple more weeks. Get them in.
Get them in, people.
In the Sierra Nevada mountain ranges of Southern California, there's tales of mysterious cryptid, like we said, known as the Lone Pine Mountain Devil. I'm trying to get to the descriptions. One of the most famous incidents involving this creature occurred in the late 1800s when a group of men, including priests named Father Justice Martinez. I think it's Justus. It's like Justin U.S. at the end.
But Martinez, so maybe it's Hustis.
It may be Hustis.
I'm being dumb too.
Venture into the heart of the Sierra Nevada mountains. The group were attacked by described winged demons that left only Father Martinez alive. He later reported the horrors he had witnessed in the manuscript entitled St. Roderick's Invocations, where he described the viciousness of these beasts as damned by the good Lord.
Wow.
Over the years, there have been numerous reports and sightings that are in attacks attributed to this creature, often coinciding with reports of wild animal attacks, particularly coyotes and bobcats. In the mid-19th century, gold prospectors known as the 49ers began spreading stories of this creature after discovering numerous carcasses in the desert and the mountains wilderness of the Southwest. These tales became more and more intriguing as a part of mythology surrounding the creature, which continues to captivate the imagination of the locals and cryptozoologists alike. In the late 20th century, there saw a resurgence in reports of the Lone Pine Mountain Devil, particularly in the forests of Southern California. The noteworthy incident involved a small group of copper miners who claimed to see and come face-to-face with the creature in the Sierra Nevada mountain range. Despite their harrowing encounter, the men were able to escape unharmed. The news spread of their experience sparked a renewed interest in the cryptid. The internet era began, and the share of hoaxes and misidentifications surrounding this creature also began.
Okay.
But it also led to the sudden jump in reported sightings. The North American Cryptozoology Center, saw an expiring raise in record accounts between 2003 and 2020.
Oh, wow.
And many locals still claim to have encounters with these creatures in the wilderness. The ferocity, though, in modern day has definitely seemed to be dialed down.
So it's not as dangerous, or maybe it's something new that...
Or it got shot at a bunch.
Or that too, yeah.
The guns got modernized.
And it's like, okay, I'm not going to mess with this creature anymore.
And went from powdered guns to
muskets and shoot one shot every...
now 16-shooter revolvers with, Gatling guns.
Yeah, if it missed you on that first shot, you about had a minute.
You imagine the first Gatling gun up in the mountain, and it's trying to...
mowing down trees.
Like, oh.
Yeah, let's leave.
We just suddenly became a couple more links down the food chain. Now, so what do you think of the Lone Pine Mountain Devil?
I like the story. I mean, but it gets into that, that frontiersman, discovering that.
There's definitely a lot of that.
Yeah. But, there's so much with that because there's so much, intriguing qualities to those stories because it's people really exploring, this land and, recording their accounts, for the first time. And there's a lot of weird stuff.
But just the lumberland stuff is so hard to, discern.
Whether it's true or not.
Yeah, and there's probably nuggets in there of everything. But
I think there is. I think whatever was here before we took over this land, started developing it to whatever the heck we've made it into now, which... Was it better? But I don't know. I just would have liked to have seen it, in its more natural state where...
So as far as I can tell, that get rid of they paint these things looking like velociraptors.
Yeah.
And the old historic accounts do not have them looking like velociraptors.
Right.
More something along the lines like Quetzalcoatlus, like this big long serpent with wings, 2 sets of wings, 4 wings total. Mm-hmm. This square blocky head. I never heard any reports of eyes.
Oh, okay.
But they say, they didn't know what dinosaurs were in the early 1800s. The word dinosaur didn't come around until the late 1800s.
Is that when somebody invented them, the idea of them?
Shut up. You right now. But
I just had to see how you'd react.
So it just is odd to me that we get these old historic reports, and I think there's a little bit of muddling with the modern day stuff, wanting this to be a theropod, a living theropod.
Well, that and the game of telephone, and yeah, I agree with that.
Ready for the next one?
Oh, yeah. Another account?
Yeah. No, a whole nother dragon.
Oh, a whole other dragon. So that was the lone... What was it again?
The Lone Pine Mountain Dragon.
Lone Pine Mountain Dragon.
Or devils.
Mountain devils.
They were seen in groups as well.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's devils.
Maybe it was a breeding ground.
For babies.
Yeah, or off the coast.
Because they weren't extremely big.
Yeah.
Most of them say, 5 to 10 feet long.
Okay.
But for, anything like that is when it's a snake-like or serpent-like animal,
yeah.
A lot of that's tail.
Right, yeah.
So the next one's the Iowa dragon.
The Iowa?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. Okay.
Are you excited? I'm excited for this one. I got the theme. Let's see if you can pick up on it.
Okay.
A number of Burlington, Iowa residents reported seeing several Iowa dragons flying over their city in recent years. Two witnesses described this as being a brownish-skinned creature with a long snake-like body and then around 15 feet wide, bat-like wings. Its head was shaped like that of a seahorse, and it had a skinny tail flowing behind it. They watched the dragon slither through the sky in the air until it flew higher and higher into the night sky.
Okay.
This was seen by a lot of people over the years. You want to go into the sightings?
Yeah.
I have centuries of sightings.
Now that it doesn't have, no one accounted for it to have a horn or anything on the top of its
No,
head, did it?
it was not the Van Meter visitor.
Just making sure. All right.
Yeah, but good, because I had that little note.
That was my Iowa cryptid knowledge.
The Bedford Times Independent in Bedford, Iowa, in August 11th, 1887,
Okay.
reported a man named Lee Corridor encountered a flying serpent. It was withering and here's his exact words. It was withering and twisting, with protruding eyes and what seemed to be a forked tongue, great scales which glistened in the sunlight, covering its huge body, which appeared to be flat and nearly a foot in width. So it was only like a foot thick.
Oh, okay.
So a very wide, flat creature.
Yeah.
And then that's the end of his quote. The beast seemed to fly and land with a thud in Mr. Corridor's cornfield.
Okay, so it just plopped down the ground.
It didn't seem like it landed. It didn't seem like it landed normally.
Well, that could be a couple things. Either it was hurt or it was hunting.
He watched in awe, in astonishment, and then eventually the dragon returned to the sky.
Did it have anything in its mouth or, I guess, talons?
This is an 1887 newspaper report of his encounter. That's pretty much it, what I just read you. But no, he reports this thing as being really wide, bat-like, or manta ray shape kind of thing. This big, square, blocky head, but seahorse-like.
Yeah.
And this big, long, serpentine tail. No legs, just wings, head, tail. And it kind of plops into this field and doesn't really, it's twisting and writhing around the sky. It just kind of lands. I don't know if he thought it was resting. I guess we could call him up. He was alive in 1877.
Sure, yeah. Let's just ring up his rotary phone and see if he answers.
You go outside and get the Ouija board and...
Yeah, right. I will not.
Hey, Mr. Corridor, can you tell us more about the serpent? I know you can only use one letter at a time, and you're probably a devil or a demon. But yeah, so that was the first encounter. I have a couple more. What do you think?
I mean, I can't put this isn't giving me like any vibes of another cryptid I'm trying to think of. Basically, I'm trying to equate dragon stuff to like current cryptids or a thing I can compare it to, but...
Oh, we get some modern sightings.
I don't know what this thing is.
On October of 1890, Independence, Iowa, was home to several reports of a monster with wings, a monster's head with what seemed to be horns, a mouth like an alligator's. This creature also appeared to be green in color and covered in what they thought were either scales or some kind of armor.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So that's that for that one.
Oh, okay. Now that's a Van Meter visitor. That's easy. That's an easy one.
I don't think so, because it didn't have legs again.
Oh, darn it. I'm trying.
I don't think these are Van Meter visitors.
It's Iowa, though. They don't got nothing out there but
That's
corn.
definitely more pterodactyl-like. The Van Meter visitor walked around.
Oh, true. Dang it.
And they would say, the horn was glowing like a spotlight.
Yeah, okay. It'd be pretty obvious. That might be a detail if it was that.
Let's jump forward a couple centuries.
Well, a couple. At least one.
2.
Okay.
Because I'm going to use my century starts with the 2.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
One witness named Megan claimed that in 2005, she and her husband witnessed a flying dragon while driving down the streets of Burlington in the middle of the night. It's described as a 10-foot-long, snake-like creature with bat wings and a head similar to a seahorse.
Oh, same description.
Very, very similar.
Yeah.
And I don't think she knew about the original one.
I mean, I doubt it.
1887 was the one that she's describing exactly.
And this is 2005. There's not too many podcasts around yet.
Her creature, there was no podcast in 2005.
There had to be one.
No, I don't think they started to like 10.
Maybe they weren't mass, but...
So her creature's a lot smaller than the 1887 one as well. She said hers was only 10 feet long.
Yeah.
And the other one had a 15-foot wide wingspan.
Gotcha. Well, things shrink over time.
Someone named Zeus mentioned this in the comment section on a local thing about dragons. I live in Iowa too, in Grand Mountain. We see dragons like that all the time. They normally come in for harvest time when the moon is really big and red. They often take cows and other animals from neighboring pastures. I myself have spotted these dragons 6 or 7 times in my life. Once in a group of 3.
Only.
Once I saw a large blue one with 4 wings. Obviously, they look like the one described above.
Yeah. That reminds me of the game Smite, Quetzalcoatl. Basically, that's exactly what they're describing. The way they depict him in that game.
I don't know if this one is, accurate or not, but it's just interesting.
Yeah.
The Iowa dragon has there's not a ton there, but it has, 200 years of history.
So, is that the last one for the Iowa dragon?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so where are they coming from? Or where are they going? Like, if they're, let's say they are around and they live in the area, people are spotting them. If that guy said 6 or 7 times, that's not once is pretty fantastic.
So far, we've covered 2 localized dragons
Yeah.
that seem to be visiting the areas over centuries.
Yeah. That's where
But
they
not
live.
there constantly.
No, that's what I'm wondering. Where are they going?
Seasonally.
Are they there constantly? They're just not out. Like, are they underground creatures?
It's going to be a long episode.
Are they cave system creatures that are coming out and feeding? I don't know.
I'm not telling you anything till the end.
Are they? Well, they can't be doing. There's no mountains in Iowa. I tell you that much.
Yeah, there are.
What? No way.
I think there are.
I thought Iowa's as flat as Kansas or something.
Iowa's the big pointy one, right? It has a big finger point straight up.
No. Big
What's that
finger
one?
pointing straight up.
Idaho?
Yes.
Okay, I'm thinking of Idaho. Maybe Iowa doesn't.
Yeah, Iowa's. No, Iowa's cornfields.
I'm thinking of Idaho.
Iowa's just northwest of Illinois.
Oh, lots northwest of Illinois.
Well, I mean, just directly right there. I'm pretty sure it's like right there. Iowa's the little.
No, I feel like there's mountains there.
You ever seen the KFC man on the map, like a map of the U.S., how you'd identify, Louisiana's the foot and it goes up.
Oh, yes.
And literally Kentucky is a piece of
Fried chicken on a plate.
Yeah. Iowa's the head of that guy. And, Minnesota's the, I think, right? Yeah. And then Minnesota's the.
I know. I think that's Illinois.
No, it's Iowa. I'm telling you it's Iowa because Iowa has
Minnesota
a little piece with
sits
the
on
nose.
top of.
Iowa.
No, Illinois. Because I've driven.
We're pulling a map up.
Okay.
We're
Anyways,
pulling a map.
While you're looking at that, the Mount Cadence dragon snake.
Ooh.
Have you picked up on the theme yet?
Dragons.
The
Okay.
More
Wait.
specifically.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Iowa's on top of Missouri. Wisconsin's on top of Illinois. But Illinois is still not the head of the KFC man.
I knew you were wrong. Are there mountains in Iowa?
I'm pretty sure. No.
You were wrong on several things so far.
No, I haven't been.
All right, hurry up so we can get. We're
I'm
in the
done.
middle of an episode.
I'm done.
All right, the Mount Cadence dragon snake. So this is Indonesia.
Ooh, okay.
One of the largest islands in Indonesia exists a creature that has been terrorizing nearby villagers for decades or centuries. This creature is able to fly and has residence, or they think it resides in a cave on the mountain near Mount Cadence in the province of Lampung. And it scours of the locals, and it reigns in terror. Only takes tens of years to measure when it wasn't taken.
Okay.
So basically, it's a very cyclical
Event, yeah.
Yeah.
When they're seen.
The Mount Cadence dragon snake is often described by locals as a flying, winged, dragon-like creature. Locals simply say it appears to be like that of a serpent, but they don't really specify on the shape. But it has a horse-like head. It also has 2 wings, different from the usual concept of dragons in Asia. So, Indonesia is a part of Asia.
Right, yep.
So it's not an Asian, just a flying serpent. This thing has big wings with a serpentine long body and a horse-like head again.
Mm-hmm.
According to, I'm going to try this, say this guy's name.
Oh, boy.
Abraham. It's not Abraham.
Right.
He's a villager that they interviewed for this dragon.
Okay.
In the past, this dragon has been terrorizing the Parsawani villages for years. Many small children and babies have been abducted and eaten by these dragons.
Oh, that's not good.
Because of this, the villager members took the initiative to trap it by blocking the entry of its cave with stones. It also has another name, that is the Ula Kura, which
Okay.
means horse serpent or horse dragon.
I
want to talk about some sightings.
Oh, yeah.
So this is actually the existence of this creature is known from I'm going to try this. It's a local TV group from Indonesia.
Okay.
The Jerka Musheries, which just means Mystery Tracks, a TV documentary about
Nice.
Indonesian cryptids.
Oh, we should have them on the show.
I would love to have them on the show. I don't think they speak English, and I don't speak any of the languages in Indonesia.
Oh, I do. So we're good.
Draga, an elder from the village, says one of the living eyewitnesses of the dragon. I'm just going to go with the dragon.
Okay.
He said the dragon has a habit of abducting small children and livestock. When their parents are working in the fields, these inactive or inattentive to the children, the dragon brought its prey to its lair near the peaks of the top of the mountain. One occasion happened on a pitch black night on one occasion happened not in pitch black night, but in broad daylight. The mother was harvesting a rice paddy. Her child is left in the paddy hut, so not too far from her.
Right.
When the mother checked, her baby was gone. Draga said that the dragon activity is seen almost every day. This means the dragon is a living creature. So when he's there, he's seen very, very regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Because of this, a few years ago, the year is not specified in this documentary, the villagers blocked the cave with stones, and the dragon was supposedly inside. Even though the terror stopped, the majority of villagers have been traumatized and chose to flee to other villages. In the present, only a few families are living in this village still. When Draga is asked why it is called the Ula Kula, the horse serpent, he said the shape of the dragon's head is similar to that of a horse, but its body is snake-like, with gesturing to shows the dragon's pose while flight. Like he draws this big, like long snake with like bat-like wings.
Yeah. And now these aren't just like hammerhead bats, are they?
No, these are big.
Okay. I mean, those guys are big, but not this big, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the big snake body is the majority of this.
Yeah, that breaks it away from...
You know, the Jersey Devil looked like a mammal.
Right, yeah.
This thing looks like a big snake with bat
serpent.
wings and a horse head.
I wonder if it is a sky snake.
Any questions about that one? The Mount Canon's dragon snake.
No, I mean, it's very storybook, though. You know, the lair at the top of the mountain. We traveled up there and blocked off its entrance. It's very storybook.
My last cryptid before we get into talks for you is the Namibian flying snakes.
Okay. Namibian?
Yeah, Nibia?
Namibian?
Namibian?
Habibi?
Nimibian.
Okay, Namibian.
Namibian flying snakes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
Thank you for correcting me, I guess.
I'm ready. Well, you know, we want
The
the...
Namibian flying snakes. What?
Nothing, just go on.
Is an oddly gigantuan serpent that's possibly derived from the African legends of dragons.
All right.
So yeah, we've touched all over the world.
Right, yeah.
It's also described as being yellow or brown with light spots, even black sometimes. It's reported being anywhere from 9 to 25 feet long and can supposedly camouflage into its surroundings. Or it's almost translucent in some cases. It has been seen by other strange features such as a bioluminescent crest or horns along its neck that it can inflate and deflate easily, possibly by gargling down air. It has leathery bat-like wings that doesn't glide on. It's capable of sustaining flight. It has a wingspan of around 30 feet. It is said to be a loud and frequent roaring sound when it's around. It is also said to smell like tar, and when it gets into the air, it hurls itself down hills. It is apparently covered in scales or armor. So by that I mean to take off, it has to get near like a hill or a cliff or a drop-off, so it has to like throw itself to start getting back up.
Yeah, get some speed going.
So a lot of these ones that are seen on the ground that fly, that people have witnessed them taking off, from all these sightings I just said above, they don't seem to be able to get back in the air super easily.
Yeah.
But not for whatever, it doesn't look like they're supposed to be down on the ground.
Needs a running start or something, right?
Yeah, or like the Iowa dragon seemed like it struggled to get back up.
Yeah.
It had to rest a long time to kind of jump.
After it thudded into the ground.
Yeah. It is found in the Karis region of Namibia. I can't say it.
That's fine
Nambia.
enough.
Nambia.
No, let's go with Namibia.
The serpent is said to have been seen in 1942 by a man named Michael Esterhuis.
Okay.
Very Dutch. He is tending to his flock of sheep at a farm 60 kilometers west of a town. Now, here's a cool name. Kitty Man Swoop.
It's a man's name?
No, the town.
Oh, okay.
Kitty Man Swoop.
Man swoop. Okay.
When he saw a massive snake hurling itself down a hill. He said the encounter did 2 or 3 times, other times in his life. In the late 1950s, a farmer named Goraga and a group of farmers and missionaries were They found 7 dead sheep, which had all been bitten by some kind of snake-like creature with 2 punctured marks that were slightly ajar. But no one understood the fact that the land from around it, the land from around them, it soot-like substance in the areas with pitched the soot were almost noticed on the wool of the sheep. So they found like soot everywhere.
Okay.
Anything ringing any bells?
It should be, shouldn't it?
Yeah. I think this is my best one ever where you haven't guessed the end.
I haven't yet.
Another sighting in 1978 when a French farmer who had been tending his cattle in the Caras region, when he saw a bright white light when he noticed it heading straight down towards him. Then afterwards, he heard a massive thud and heard one of his cattle mooing in pain. As he rushed to check on what was attacking his cows, he saw what he thought was a giant snake. He quoted to the local police, "I saw what I looked like. It looked like, the best matching description I could give you is it looked like a dragon. It had a white, bright light on its head when it was blinding me. The color of it was brown and yellow. It had green eyes, ? There was a tar-like smell coming from it, and there was smoke coming out of its nostrils."
Huh. Okay. So wait,
Nobody yet?
Is it a cryptid?
When he was asked to meet be detective, it became seen to be above the uncolored. I don't know what that means. The legend of the strange creature possibly driven from local legends of African dragons or the Kongamoto. It could be exaggeration of a new species of flying snake. Okay. That's all the cryptids I have for you. I'm not going to tell you what my thoughts are, but we're going to go into what are people seeing.
Okay.
So it's odd. In the middle of this research, I found the Smithsonian had wrote in an article literally attached to one of these cryptids.
Oh, no. Okay, what did they have to say?
Before I get into that, what are people seeing past and present? So dragons are in every culture.
Yep.
And historic dragons are much more like the ones I just read above, not these 4-legged saurian dinosaurs with wings kind of look.
That Sir George was fighting, and
If you look at Sir George, or some of those old knights, they were killing crocodiles, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Okay.
Like, they were these big things on the ground. They were stabbing crocodiles to death.
Okay, dragons.
I mean,
Land dragons.
have you ever seen a big now crocodile in person?
If you throw some big wings on it, it could be easily a dragon.
Anyways, so from this first group I have for you of possibilities, it's from the Smithsonian. So this is word for word what they say.
Oh, gosh.
What people are seeing that they're calling dragons. Where do dragons come from? First one they say is dinosaurs. Ancient people have discovered dinosaur fossils and understandably mistaken them for remnants of dinosaurs. Or dragons, I'm sorry. Cheng Qiu, a Chinese historian from the 4th century BC, mislabeled such fossils in the Shuqi province. He took a look at fossilized stegosaurs, for example, and you might say, all these giant beasts averaged 30 feet length. They typically were 14 feet tall, and they were covered in armor plates and spines for defense.
Dragon.
Which I can see at least some like cultures.
It's reasonable.
Like, yeah, you find dinosaur bones and you don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
They're big, robust, spiky animals.
Right, yeah. Could easily be confused as a dragon if
Like
you
the
have that in your
Cyclops
culture.
skull when they found,
Which was the elephant?
elephants and mammoths. Because their trunk looks like an eye socket where their
Right.
trunk connects. The next one, Nile crocodiles.
Okay.
So the native to sub-Saharan Africa, they end up everywhere. Nile crocodiles may have been a much more extensive range in ancient times, perhaps inspiring European dragon legends by swimming across the Mediterranean to Italy and Greece. They are among the largest of all crocodile species, with mature adults measuring 18 to 20 feet length. Unlike most others, they are capable of movements and called a high walk, where it's, they stand up and they can run at you pretty quick, in which they trunk is elevated off the ground. A giant lumbering croc might be mistaken for a dragon.
Okay, so they're leaving out one small little, tiny little detail.
No, you think these are bad. Let me keep reading.
What?
Don't bring that up yet.
What? The fact that they can't...
So keep in mind, this is attached to the dragons I just read about.
Yeah, I know.
The next one is the guana.
The iguana?
No. The goanna.
Okay, what's that?
It's from Australia. It's a small Komodo dragon.
Okay, but
It's a species of monitor lizard.
they're
But
still
they were
leaving-
traded in ancient Europe and stuff like that from there. Like people visiting Australia, they were brought back as little dragons.
They're still leaving out a very major key detail.
Don't say it yet, because wait till you hear the next one. Whales.
Whales.
Whales. Often argue that discovery of megafauna such as whales prompted the stories of dragons. Ancient humans encountering whale bones would have no way of knowing that these animals were sea-based. Like, because they were on the... The idea of such gigantic creatures may have led people to assume that they were predatory. Because living whales spend up to 90% of their time underwater, they were probably poorly understood in most of human history. This is from the Smithsonian.
Now listen, I'm gonna spend. They said 90% of the time underwater. Whales spend.
I think they meant not at the surface.
Oh, okay. I say because whales spend 100% of their time, unless you're that one
dying.
in the Amazon rainforest.
No, that was dropped there by a dragon.
Maybe so, but the whale dragon.
See, now you can say it.
What? That none of these have wings.
None of these look like a snake.
None of these look like a snake. None of them have wings. None of them fly. Yeah, this is their main thing to write
I
off
wanted
as.
you to wait until we got to the whale one.
Are they okay? Okay, are they dumb on purpose?
No, they think
Or-
you're dumb. That's what it is.
I think they're also.
No,
Dumb.
they're like, here's the thing from the Smithsonian. Just eat this.
Yeah, no one will read this. As long as we put it out, they'll read the headline. That's it.
The last one the Smithsonian puts forth is just the human brain.
Of course.
That we're very imaginative, and that's why dragons pop up in every culture. Is that it's this key characteristic? You know, our nemesis to fight and such.
So I'm glad that the Smithsonian really takes the diligent time to sift through everything and then present only explanations that just don't fit any of the descriptions at all.
All right, ready to get into mine?
Yeah.
Mine, I feel, are a little better.
Okay.
Let's just go with the first one that was, especially put forth for the Lone Pine Mountain Devils. Living dinosaurs or pterodactyls surviving their mass extinction events. So let's do dinosaurs first. I want to do that, and then we'll do pterodactyls. I want to separate them because they're not the same thing.
Okay.
So it's kind of unique. Dinosaurs, pterosaurs, and crocodilians are actually from the same source group.
Okay.
That's why crocodiles aren't close related to most other reptiles.
Because
They have their
just
own like
old-
little traits.
Yeah.
They're very unique as far as true reptiles go.
Okay.
And dinosaurs aren't true reptiles. They're not reptiles anymore. They became their own thing, but they are source material is reptiles. And same with pterosaurs. Their source material is reptiles, but they actually separately evolved feather-like stuff. Now we know they were actually covered in down.
Okay.
Most of these species of pterosaurs were covered in a thick layer of down.
Okay.
We actually have some really good fossils that show this. So let's do dinosaurs first. As far as we know, no dinosaurs truly had flight.
Okay.
There were some gliders towards the end, like Microraptors and some of these guys, and they actually had two sets of wings.
Oh.
They had their arms and their legs, and they would actually have the specialized hips so they could like spread their legs so they could actually glide on those as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of the first thing is that the Microraptors were very small, a little bigger than squirrels.
Yeah.
So when we looked at stuff that survived the mass extinction events, specifically the dinosaurs' mass extinction, almost all the fully land animals were very small. Mm-hmm. Reptiles, rodents, and
Anything that could burrow under the ground.
avian dinosaurs.
Yeah.
These are the small guys that survived. So Microraptors would have been thrown into that category. Very small insect eaters. Insects would back up very fast compared to vertebrates.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just say, and like we'll talk about with the birds and the pterosaurs in a minute, that after the mass extinction of the dinosaurs, there's a lot of open niches. And there's what's called evolutionary radiation, which these species evolve very, very fastly to fill all the open niches.
Right, yeah.
So this giant, condor or, that kind of animal space is open. So if they're already kind of gliding and there's not a lot of flying stuff left, that's especially bigger than them, there's nothing bigger than them left,
So they'll develop.
they could take over that niche very quickly.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think so. I think that what we're talking about are very serpent-like.
Right, yeah.
And not saying that dinosaurs couldn't adapt. It's been a long time. They had a lot of time to get from there to here. So they could, be much more serpentine. Their front legs could come forward and form like bee-like wings or dragonfly-like wings. Sure.
Because a lot of things can change over that many years in time. Yeah.
I'm going to go no. I think there's many more other possibilities that are a little more likely.
Okay.
Let's go with the next group. Pterosaurs.
Okay.
The biggest flying things to ever exist were from this group. They had all kinds of special adaptations for this.
For flight?
For flight.
Okay.
Specifically being how big they are in being fly. So the biggest flying bird we ever had were, I just forgot the name of it. Pteratorns.
Pteratorns.
Okay. They look like raptors, like birds of prey, but they weren't.
Okay.
They were a separate group. Argentinus.
The guy from the Ark?
Yeah.
Yeah, the big
it's from
bird.
this.
Yeah, okay.
They're not true raptors. They're a whole different. They're pteratorns.
Okay.
Why did pterosaurs get so much bigger? It's because they could leap to fly. They could jump, or they'd be on these cliff faces and jump. So getting up in the air for birds is very difficult when they get to a certain size. You look at Californian condors and Andean condors, some of our biggest flying birds.
Today.
They have to land, like a lot of times they can get off the ground. They're not great at it. But, that's why they prefer to stay on cliffs and stuff like that. So
it's easier for them. Yep.
So what have we talked about? So, so these guys can jump. But Quetzalcoatlus, 40-foot wingspan, as tall as a giraffe walking around. They didn't survive the mass extinction. But there were pterosaurs that 4 or 5 of them could fit in the palm of your hand.
The tiny little guys, yeah.
There's some that look just like bats.
Right. I think we've talked
Like
about
the little frog-faced pterosaurs and stuff like that. Some of them had teeth. Some of them had big blocky heads, like Dimetrodon and stuff like that, where this little blocky-headed pterosaur.
Okay.
So these could have evolved a much more serpentine build. Some species still had their long tail. Some species had their stubby little tail. So let's say that they developed to be more airborne for longer periods of time. That they are adapting this fat storage in their tail, or they're having more fat storage because they're going longer distances without eating.
Okay.
That could be why they look more serpentine now. Their legs are already very small before the mass extinction event.
Now they're probably just
vestigial at this point.
Yeah.
So this could give you a much more serpentine look. And what did we already talk about? Pterosaurs had down.
That's right.
And they had armor scales. They had some scales. Pterosaurs had a good mix of avian traits. They weren't avians at all. They weren't related. The avians came from dinosaurs.
Right, yeah.
But they separately evolved avian-like traits. This down and almost hair-like structures.
Okay.
What do you think of that one?
I mean, it's always a possibility. You can't rule it out.
And my thing is, they had really tiny members. In this adaptive radiation, they already had the building blocks to get big again.
Yeah. And there was niches to be filled for bigger ones.
They have the same genetics that the frog-faced pterosaurs had, that the Quetzalcoatlus had in Hexagrochorix.
And what was that last one?
Hexagrochorix. I can never say. It's the second largest flying one.
Okay. I don't know that one. Never heard that one before.
So I haven't sold you yet.
No, not yet.
Try again.
All right, let's shoot for 3.
Just straight up giant birds.
Birds?
These birds have much more, some of the birds have scales, birds have armor plates, they have down, they have wings.
Yeah.
Not bat-like wings, but when you see a giant bird like a pterotorn or a thunderbird, it would be scary. What have we talked about with people seeing these things? You start exaggerating. Your brain adds extra teeth. Your brain adds extra spines.
Yeah.
And horns and stuff because it wants you to be scared.
Scared, yeah.
What do you think of this one?
I just still don't think on this one either.
I'm not sold on this one. I just seen somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay, so convergent evolution.
Now this could be a thing, yeah.
Animals like bats and lizards taking these niches. So there was actually a lizard,
flying lizard,
at the end of the Jurassic that glided on its back legs only.
Oh, okay.
It had tiny little front legs and it had these gigantic long back legs, and it would glide.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. So if he survived the mass extinctions and had all this time,
evolved into something like this, convergently evolved into this,
and like we've talked about with like orangutan and stuff like that, giant bats are also another option. These bat-like wings, this downy feather, the box-like head. You mentioned the hammerhead bat earlier. We know bats that have these horse-looking heads.
Yeah, and that's weird that popped up all around the world. That horse head description. That's kind of crazy.
So what do you think about that? There's either this group of lizards or this group of bats that have especially evolved for oceanic flight or something, high atmospheric flights.
The only thing that deters me from that is the double sets of wings. That's the only thing.
So if you look at bats,
Yeah.
their front wings are connected to their back legs, and they actually have a membrane going to their tail.
Right. Yeah.
So they kind of look like they have two sets of wings. If it's a big enough bat where you can see it, you would see the arms,
Yeah.
and then you would see the legs.
Yeah. So okay, maybe
Because they have
big.
that. Yeah.
I guess, but
I'm saying, we're talking something that has a 15-foot wingspan.
Yeah,
the
it's
legs are going to be much more visible
pronounced, yeah.
than a 6-foot fruit bat.
right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I still
The
don't know.
serpentine body is what's really killing
Yeah,
you,
it's
right?
not. Yeah, it's not. I can't fit that into a box.
Okay.
I still. Okay. Now, before you get to your last one,
I have a couple.
Okay, is one of these one of your predictions? What do you think it is?
Yeah, the very last one is what I know. I know
Okay,
it is.
So before you get to that, I want to guess, but do this next one first.
I have two more before my
Oh, okay, then let's do these two. Then I'll guess.
flying snakes.
Oh, that was my guess.
Oh, literally, it's flying snakes.
Oh wait, I guess that wasn't my guess. It kind of was. My guess was the flying. We talked about atmospheric snake creatures, like the flying ones. That was my.
Anyways,
Oh no! Oh no! Was that your guess?
so flying actual snakes. There's tons of cultures that even the Congo and the Amazon,
Yeah.
that there are snakes that glide.
Right now.
Yes, that are tree jumpers and they glide.
Neat.
And there are stories from both of those regions of small flying snakes. And even in the modern King Kong versus Godzilla, they had a titan that was a flying cobra.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's pretty scary.
So there's a bunch of cultures of these little flying snakes.
Yeah.
So what if we had something more along the lines of an anaconda sized?
One of these. I mean, if squirrels can take over the niche, to
A
glide
lot
from
of
tree to
animals
tree.
have separately evolved flight.
Yeah. Maybe not like flight as far as flapping your wings taking off, but the gliding thing. Yeah.
And we already have snakes that have been gliding for a long time.
Okay. I'm just gonna say no on this, but if the stories were about a glider, maybe, but they're not.
Second to the last one. They're just real dragons.
Yeah, it could be its own separate little species of something.
So this
real
isn't-
dragons, as in this is what a dragon.
They're dragons. They're just
kinda calling
their own
dragon.
group of animals.
Yeah.
You know, they evolved during the same time as the dinosaurs. They had members survive, and they took niches.
Or maybe they even evolved after. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just something that's there.
So and this isn't my full theory. This has been put out there before. The dragons maybe have had very hollow bones like birds. Then they don't fossilize well.
Right, yeah.
So they don't have a big historic fossilize. If they were a world-faring species, they'd have had a very low number, like condors, stellar sea eagles, and some other albatrosses.
Ooh, yeah.
So these giant birds that fly over the whole planet, their number of individuals is very low. So fossils have been very, very, very rare.
Right, yeah. And these
And
things,
hollow bones would another been thing.
maybe they were thermal vent riders as well. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
They're ending up all over the world.
Yeah.
Another thing is, many cultures used killing a dragon-like animal as a test of ultimate manhood. So over the centuries or the millennia, could these things have systematically been wiped out?
Oh, knowing human beings? Yes.
That they were used, they were targeted, these
Right.
little areas. Most dragons, most cultures, talked about mountain ranges. So
slaying
this
the
is
dragon.
a legless creature that's flying.
Yeah.
They would use these areas, whether nurseries or just landing spots, because they get back in the areas or in hunting grounds. All these talk about, from Africa, South America, North America, eating children, sheep, small animals,
swooping down and
cows.
getting them, yeah. And returning back to the mountain.
So what if we've systematically put them as an extremely endangered species? And most of these dragons that are left today are very, very localized.
Yeah.
So what if that's, they're
They
just,
found one safe spot left.
it's their last little breeding area.
Yeah.
And it's almost always around mountains or, just spots.
Maybe. And two, I was going to say the Iowa one maybe doesn't fall into that. But since it is seasonal, or seems to be seasonal with these guys, maybe that's like they're traveling to this area to feed, knowing it's like good hunting grounds, good, easy eating. And people in Iowa aren't, wise enough to hunt them or to know like what to do with them yet.
Anymore.
Yes.
And the thing with Iowa that was kind of cool was at the very end, if you want to believe that guy or not, I don't care.
Yeah.
But a different species of one came in. And it was huge and it was blue and it had two sets of wings compared to all the other ones.
Just had the one.
And, that would kind of point there. It seems like there may be a couple species of these things left.
Gotcha.
And if they're world faring, they'd be quite rare. We talked about their stellar sea eagles on Freaky Fauna.
Yeah.
You know, the same individual you see in Africa, maybe the same individual you see in Maine, same individual you see in
Norway.
Alaska.
Yeah.
You know,
All
it's one
over.
animal.
Yeah.
And they're capable of flying, 2,000 miles at a time.
There's thermal vent riders.
Once they get up there, it's easy to stay.
Oh, yeah.
So what if that's what's happening? What if dragons are just real? They're a separate group of animal like pterosaurs,
Yeah.
where they, they're evolved from base stock or reptiles. That's why they have these reptilian traits.
I think they were real. I do. I just think there's enough history of them that's in our consciousness or whatever. Everyone knows about dragons. I mean, I just think there was some form of dragon that was real, and this could be, the remnants of them. Could be. Maybe they've gotten smaller over time.
I mean, I don't think dragons were ever massive. I
Yeah.
just don't think a flying creature would
Like
be
from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like Dracarys.
Yeah, I think they were small and probably very fragile.
Yeah. And small relatively,
I mean, 15 feet long.
would it be small compared to what we're shown on
Yeah, when you're seeing
media
100-foot long
today.
dragons,
Yeah.
with 400-foot wingspans.
Yeah, size of a building, a small house or something.
And like single guys were killing these things
Right.
on all these cultures, whether it's Africa, whether it's Asia, the Philippines.
They were slaying them.
Yes,
Yeah.
The UK.
And imagine a big flying snake in the top of a mountain. You travel all the way up there in your big
In their
coat
nuisances,
of armor.
killing sheep and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Sure, they're going to take.
This thing wriggles out of its cave and it's 15 feet long. Yeah, it's a giant. Back then, and slay it. But it's slayable. It's
When it's on the
doable.
ground from these modern day stories, they don't seem to be doing that well.
right. Yeah, maybe that's
So
why we
when
could
you
kill them.
you walk up with your sword and you just start slashing at the thing.
Gotta sneak up on it. Don't let it take flight.
I mean, I don't think it could. Like, if it's either going to fight or try to take
Yeah.
off,
Right. Yeah.
and it's hopping.
yeah.
How many of these stories of it's hopping, trying to get back up,
And Sir George is chasing it down, trying to cut its head off.
or just start and slash at its tail and stuff like that? It don't
Yeah.
matter. All right, what
Okay,
these
what
things
is
really
it?
are.
What is it?
They're organic UFOs.
That's okay.
These are sky serpents. We talked
Yeah.
about multiple times.
Yeah.
You didn't pick it up for a long time.
I didn't, because I didn't think that would even be. I don't know. I just didn't.
So
it didn't pop
people
in my
are
head.
seeing these sky serpents, and they have known stories of dragons with these reptilian-like traits, and they're personifying reptilian-like traits onto these creatures.
Okay.
They may have these big square heads. A lot of these creatures aren't said to have eyes, or they have bioluminescent parts, or they seem to be transparent. Mm-hmm. Like the one in Africa is talked about being like it can camouflage wherever it lands. It just it matches.
Right. Yeah.
Probably because it's transparent. It's not camouflaging. It's just see-through or clear.
It could be.
Like a jellyfish.
Yeah.
You can see the other side,
Yeah.
even though you're looking through organ systems and stuff like that.
Right.
A lot of them aren't said to have eyes, which is something that was a big kickoff to me. These serpent-like bodies, these manta ray or bat-like wings, and these big blocky heads.
With no eyes.
Yeah.
Or at least nothing visible. Like
Yeah, nothing
discernible.
visible or, not big prominent features. So what if these are a special type of organic UFO that's hunting on the ground? So in one of our episodes, we talked about these small man-like ones from the Amazon that are being seen, the small manta ray things
Okay.
that are hyper-aggressive carnivores.
Okay.
That may be a birthing ground for these giants in the upper atmosphere.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a possibility.
And what if these are the small, like we talked about the sharks, these are the guys that are carnivores.
The fast moving predators in this atmosphere. Yeah.
And they're taking advantage. Like we talked about the ghost of the Sahara, this big serpent-like light that comes through. The other one in Africa talked about
Yeah.
having lights, bioluminescence.
There's ones in India we talked about. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what if we're seeing the sky snakes? And I'm not saying they don't have armor plates or people are mistaken for scales, but the reptilian traits. And I know if you go to like the Cryptid Wiki or whatever, you're going to see pictures of like drawn dragons. That's not what these things look like historically.
Yeah.
And they have serpentine bodies, but not serpent-like. Not covered in scales with big belly scoots and stuff like that.
Just a long, slender, narrow.
Long, slender,
tube.
narrow body, like an eel.
Yeah.
You could say eel-like just as easily.
Right. Yes.
Some of them
Interchangeable
are
at that
colored,
point.
some of them aren't. Some of them are see-through, some of them camouflage, some of them have bioluminescence, and some of them don't.
Phenotypes.
Phenotype. But what if that's what we're seeing? And that they were slaying, I'm not even going that that's what they were slaying, that when
Sky
these things
snakes?
land to lay
Yeah.
eggs.
Well,
Now-
they gotta have a breeding ground somewhere.
The soot, from the left by the one dragon,
Okay.
spores
Spores?
from these mushroom-like or whatever, the jellyfish-like ones.
Oh, okay.
They're leaving spores behind. How many times have we talked about these UFOs leaving powder?
Right, yeah.
These powdery residue around.
Yep.
And it may be their dried mucus or spores or anything like that.
What was that one stuff called? Magnesium carbonate?
Calcifate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways.
Professional podcasters here.
It's been a day for I can't read or pronounce anything. So what if these are organic? Dragons are organic UFOs. And that people are putting, because especially modern day ones, people are putting more reptilian-like traits because that's what we think dragons are.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I like it. I think, like I said, when I was trying to narrow it down, once you said flying snakes, I meant these guys, the organic UFO snake-like creatures we've talked about in many of almost all of our organic UFO episodes. This is a good. We might have to go through that project we were working on, and check some of them accounts again and see if it adds up to some of these, and maybe these could be added into that project as well. But I don't know. I like this idea. This is the one that's most reasonable to me, unless it's just some unknown creature that we're not taking into account.
See, I think it's one of the last two. It's either
which is the same thing as this. Yes.
I mean, it's either real dragons, as in a whole group of animals that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Or it's organic UFOs being mistaken for dragons.
Or both, like at the same time. Organic UFOs are dragons that people just don't, I guess, anymore. That's just, back then it was a dragon. Now it's like, well, dragons aren't real, but there's these organic UFOs. Same thing.
So, I have been the great and powerful Mr. E.
And I've been a clone that I don't remember. A forgetful clone.
Remember, everybody, dragons are real.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Cryptids of the Corn podcast.
Please share with a friend you think would like us. It's the best way to help our show grow.
Leave a comment, rate us, a 5-star review, and remember, there is always extra content on Patreon/cryptidsofthecorn.com.
And don't forget, stay magical.